Hello. I said 20 seconds went quick. Hey, Poppy, Gary, Craig, g'day. Stephen, hello. Warren, hello. Yeah, it's bedtime. JB, g'day. Mark Osborne. Dan, hello. Tom, hello. Peter Noddle. Fridge, g'day. Hello, everyone. Fellow preppers. It's probably the first time you've been called a fellow prepper, so yeah, get used to it because that's what you all are. I'm laughing because, hey, Kevin, that's what I spent most of the weekend doing, was cleaning out cupboards and putting stuff away and organising stuff and getting some food and stuff in cupboards just in case. And we're all saying just in case, but it's going to happen. Kevin didn't look for your email, no. Didn't see it. It's probably there. I'll have a look later. Thanks. G'day, Go Create. Good video and exhibition report the other day from Go Create. Check it out. Gary set for a 3-month siege. R. Stephen Lang is in for the long haul. David Ian Seax is still in the swamp. Yep. Morning, Poppy. Thought I'd have a look at this whole, talk about this whole prepper thing. I mean, it's kind of a bit ridiculous, and we all laugh about it. And it's a smart dust. So the best thing you can do is wear a magnet around your neck to stop the smart dust, and then they can't activate the virus. I've been told this on authority, but I think it might be a little bit far-fetched or a tall story, but it sounded good, and the guy who told me believed me. He had an absolute conviction. But if you're going to buy stuff, buy it off the corner store, buy it off small family business. I went today, there's things that I need if I'm stuck here in the... I have toilet paper. Well, I've got enough. I've also got a working shower, and if it comes to that, I've got a garden hose, I guess. But to my mind, it's probably going to be the least of my problems. Crystal's the answer, Tom? Hey, Tinker, good to see you. I went and bought some Tap Magic this morning because I needed some. And I bought a length of 10mm all thread because I also needed some for a project. Trying to get projects, get a bit of a list of projects and trying to get bits to finish a couple of them if I've got to stay home for a couple of weeks. Hey Cam, good to see you. Hope you're doing all right. The family and everything else is doing okay. It's good to see you. Hey Maddie. The eggs from the corner shop's a really good idea, Gary. I got a few bolts. I got a few bits for projects. So I'm starting to get a bit of a list of things, and I had to buy some detents for this, which is sort of what I'm working on. A detent to go in here, and I bought that locally. So it's not a bad idea if you possibly can to buy someone who might be struggling to stay open and pay bills. Dad's not well. Bad stroke and increasing dementia. That's no good, Cam. I hope it's something that you can sort of keep on top of it, I guess, as a not a very nice thing to have at anyone at the moment, but what to do? But yeah, I guess one day it'll be all of us probably. Lots to be thankful for, and everything's sort of. My life's pretty good, really, and I've got a good job, and I've got sick leave, and I've got annual leave owing, and I've got a pretty understanding boss, and I mean things are probably going to be tight for them, and I understand that, but we'll sort some stuff out. But if I'm stuck at home, I'd like to have some projects to finish, and I hope everyone else has got that opportunity too to have bits and pieces together for projects. It's that's the important thing to get some workshop time. No matter what's going on down. I know Maddie's workshop's doing it pretty tough at the moment with health, family health and stuff. Sorry, Maddie, but yeah, you've got to get some. We were talking about that, and you've got to get some workshop time. All of you really got to get out, and even if you don't actually make something. Hey, Brendan. That's the thing, Warren. We love 2 weeks off. We can't afford it. It's probably going to have to happen. So I don't know how you fix that. So I've got my house and me pretty well prepped. I mean, I don't have a problem with having a fortnight or 3 weeks at home. It's not going to really worry me too much. However, what's really going to worry me is if I've got projects to finish and no parts and no materials and things to do it, and that's going to be a bit of a pain. So I've been making a bit of an effort this last couple of days to stock up on stuff. Is Oh, that's no good, Gary. You're at home. So things are happening, but trying to get stuff together to get this finished if I've got time off. This is something that's going to happen. Check out JB's video on cutting this. The second one's up at the moment, and cutting it, and etc, etc, etc. I'm surprised it was hard to get out, because if he'd cut it through here and then through to the edge on this side here, he may not have had the same problem if a piece had fallen off the outside. But live and learn, maybe. I've been trying to finish this up good enough to blue because it needs it. And this has come through with a bit of rust and a bit of scale since last night. I don't know why that is, but I'm going to give it a bit more of a sand up. It's getting nice, but it's all pretty well cleaned up all the way around, and I'd like to get this good enough to blue this part. Dust caught in the cracks. You got to watch that. Had these bits in the tumbler, and they've come up pretty nice, really. These have been in the tumbler. I've got some concrete medium or some ceramic medium. I don't know what it is. It looks like concrete to me. It might be stone of some sort, which isn't particularly abrasive. And I've got couple of tubs of oilstone powder, half a jar or something, or oilstone powder in there as well, and that seems to be getting us results. So yeah, that's where we don't go to the beach, Gary. That's the way it is. So I've done the nuts, are looking pretty good, and I've done this. These bits are all hardened, and this has all come up really nice. I also did the 4 of these. They're not perfect, but they're certainly not too shabby either. I think they'll be good. So these all went in the tumbler overnight, which kept everyone awake. Me in particular. Didn't keep anyone else awake, I don't think. That's awesome, Stephen. That's cool. Duncan's had to deliver his steel. He's making a bike, I imagine. Hey, Dennis. G'day. Tumblr. Everyone wants to know about Tumblr. There you go. Let's move back a bit. Hey, Joseph, good to see you. So, Tumblr, this is plastic. I think Stefan has a fancy German rubber one, but this one's just plastic. It's got, I think it's got a motor in here with basically an off-center weight or out of balance weight or something, and it vibrates like that. Awesome, Gary. Yeah, basic case cleaner reloading tumbler. That's pretty much what it is. They're available on eBay pretty cheap. They come with a couple of lids. This has got like a concrete medium in it, which is not particularly abrasive. It's not abrasive at all, but that's just a filler to stop the bits banging together. And I've just put fair bit of oilstone powder in there, so we have got an abrasive in there as well, which seems to work. It's fairly slow. If we have a look here, that's what it looks like inside. Just if you do buy one off eBay, you realise that it comes with probably a crazy American plug or something like that, so you'll need an adapter. But it's not a bad thing. I would think that for not much more money, a glass bead blaster cabinet would be a much better and quicker and nicer and probably almost more pleasant to use option than this. So there you go, there's my review on tumblers. Craig, you're right. There's a small bead blast cabinet would be really nice. They are expensive for the good ones. There's bubbles. There was too much water in that. I emptied it out afterwards. I really topped it up too far and then realised after I'd taken the picture that there was too much water in it. You don't want anywhere near that much. Or anything. Nothing's doing anything in that. Someone says you're using chemical blue. Tinker says you're using chemical blue. For this, I've got a friend who's got a caustic hot blue line, I guess you would call it. He's got everything set up to do production bluing. So we're going to go and take a video of that and work out how to do it and blue some of these parts. And everything should be a nice uniform grey and blue then with shiny metal parts. It should look really nice. But still lots to do. That's the pain with that American plug, Gary. You're right, is that nothing seems to hold it in place. It just falls out. Anyway. And all American plugs seem to be like that. They're one of my, even the big 10, 15 amp or whatever it is on my heat treat ovens like that. It's a pain because it sticks out about 6 inches from the wall by the time you plug it into an Australian power point. Got a bronze bush. Stefan's talked me into putting a bronze bush in this. Let's move down here and shake you all about a bit. I did I put about half a squirt of detergent. I don't know if it makes a lot of difference. It seems to keep everything a little bit more suspended, maybe. So there is a little bit of detergent in there, but not enough to bubble it. Not enough water to bubble it either. Stefan convinced me to put a bronze bush in this rather than needle rollers, which is probably a good idea because it's probably a little bit of side load on it as well and all that sort of stuff. So I bought one of them this morning. I've got a bit of 4140 to make that bush through there and then a bush to go in there. And I've got a bit of 4140 for the shaft through the bush probably. And that's just going to go through here like such. And we're going to put a stop collar on this side, cut him to length and put a stop collar on the shaft on this side to stop lateral sideways movement. And that should be plenty good enough, I think. Decided to put, everyone's had a look at my question, I guess, on Facebook and Instagram on the redesign of the banjo or the support for the change wheels and the train. Hang on. This has been done to death, and I don't even know if anyone's particularly interested in this. What I'm probably going to do, oil pour it through the curve part, Craig. Explain a bit better, maybe. Oil pellet for this shaft, right? What I'm probably going to do is leave I think it's about 6 millimeters of this shaft as a boss between where this bolts on, or goes over the shoulder on this end, and there. So that should be enough to put a proper oil gun port. I've got one here somewhere for it. A proper ball oiler in there, and then it'll oil the bush, so we can oil that with oil can from there. I think that's probably the best way to do it. So that's what I've been thinking. Yeah, turtle's head, yep. So rather than put a boss in here with a shaft with a bush inside it, which is going to have to be turned down, this is the only one I could find, and expect the oil to go through here and line all this up and get that, because I'm going to put a couple of grub screws in the middle, in the bottom, to hold this boss in that hole. It's right through. I'm going to try and put a oil port in the boss that sits up against there, between there and this. So that's the theory. That's where I'm going with that. Welcome to Facebook, Gary. Add me. Famous last words there. Turtlenecking. That's terrible. Anyway. So that's where I'm at with that. I've had a bit of a rethink in this. I was going to put a bolt through here and a bush with a boss on it as well to bring it up to the right level, and a T-nut to bolt this down with a handle on the back here to lock it. And that sounded like a good idea, and a lot of messing around. I've been sort of putting this part off for a little while because of that, but sort of had a bit of a think, and what I'm going to do is actually put I watched Max Phillips, Joy of Precision, his video on the Revette plane turning attachment, which is kind of cool, and I've watched it a few times. But that has basically a pinch bolt on here with a slit, and that's what locks it. So we've gone a bit bigger diameter with that. We're going to go up to 28 millimeters, something like that on here. And we're going to sit that over the top, and we're going to have a bolt in the top here like this to lock it. So that should move like that, and that'll be much easier to make. So bit of an epiphany on that this week, thanks to social media. This will be 10 millimeters. I've got some steel plate coming. I hope should be here tomorrow. I thought it'd be here today, but it's not. So 10 millimeter steel plate for this. Because there's a bit of space here by the time we put this on here, and this all goes in here, there's already 4 millimeters under here. We have a look. 4 millimeters here, and then this is 12 millimeters, so we've got 16 millimeters to the top of that. If we put 10 mil plate on there, that'll give us some clearance behind it for these, which don't actually need much, and it'll give us a 10 millimeter plate on the same level as that, because all these are spaced the same as this. So all the gears, if we can get our banjo the same height as this, then all our gears should all sit flush, top and bottom layer. It should all be good. So there we go, Craig. G'day, Rustinox. Craig, yeah, I see where you're going with that. Yeah, I can get a 6mm screw in there. I'm probably going to put a nice lever to match something like this to match the rest of the lathe, or a ball handle or something like that. And this one goes in here, and that matches the tailstock. I'll probably make something like one of the ones on the probably something like this without the bend. And if I'm making one of them, I should probably make two of them, because this one for some reason has a bend in it. I don't know if anyone noticed, but it's had a bend in it long before I got it. That's the tailstock lock bolt. So that's the idea, and if we do it that way, there's plenty of room for a lock bolt there without fouling on anything, which is going to be really nice. Rustinox, g'day. There's this thing called Coat Hanger 2020 on YouTube. Go and check it out. Rustinox has made a video. It was really cool. Who else have I seen in a video? I've seen Poppy. I've seen Craig. Who else did I see? Who else has put a video up? A good one, nice one from Matty. Really nice work. So there's some pretty cool stuff here. I saw Craig's this week. Really good idea. Mine's coming. I've got a box of bits that aren't yet ready for public presentation. We're getting there. If you want a preview, who wants a preview of my Coat Hanger 2020? One part of my Coat Hanger 2020 video. Who wants to look? Hey, Alistair. Okay, one part. There we go. There's your preview. That's all you're getting. Hope you didn't miss it. That's it. Too late. It's happened. I'll just put it over here just so that, just in case everyone missed it. That was a flyby preview. That's it. But no more secrets. We're not letting any more out of the bag yet. But good to see you, Alistair. Thanks, Rustinox. If we're all sitting at home, it wouldn't hurt to go and have a look at Rustinox's playlist. Check out some of these videos. There's some cool stuff. Hey, Richard. Yeah, so that's all the preview you're getting on my Coat Hanger 2020 video so far, but that's one of the bits that's sort of looking like half finished. But there's a lot of bits. So it will happen. Don't know when. It's a matter of spending some time on it. Another one that I saw was Swan Valley Machine Shop. Max Grant had a video too. That was a pretty good one. All makes sense now, Russ Knox. Yeah, of course. So there we go. I'm working on that too as we go. I seem to be... The other big thing I've done this weekend, here we go. Besides the little few things on this crazy big project that seems to never end, but I think we're getting closer to the end now. Oh my gosh. Oh. Oh. What have we got? We've got some lighting problems here. What do we got? That's better. Too much white. Yeah. We met Max's new video companion. We got a new oiler on here, which is kind of cool, and I had some questions about this that I didn't really answer in the Patreon video that I made it. There is a Patreon video, and you'll get to see that at some point, or you can go and have a look. This is a wire wick oiler, which is kind of cool actually. It's sort of lost technology, John Creasy says. It's empty, which is kind of cool, so it must work. It's got a wire in it for a wick, right? This is just a bit of spring wire. And that goes in there like that. I think it... Rotate device. I get a warning that says rotate device. Here we go. Don't know if we're going to focus on that or not. Probably not at that close. Doesn't look like it. But that's got a wire loop in there, and that works as a wick, and the capillary action feeds from here. This takes about 20 minutes to empty from full, and it's dependent a little bit on the size of the wire too. So a bigger wire will empty it a lot quicker than a thinner wire, but that's dripping about once every 25-30 seconds. So, and we've just made a cap that's going to get lost soon enough for that. Yeah, it siphons due to surface tension. So I was sort of spent half a day messing around trying to get this to slow down enough, to be honest. So it didn't quite supply too much, because the first piece of wire I had in here was emptying in about, this is it here, I think. Yep. The first piece of wire I had was emptying it in about less than 3 or 4 minutes. And I tried a couple of others, but this is the difference between this one and this one. And the thinner one slowed it down enough that it's sort of fairly useful. So a lot of decent lathes still have this system. Schobelin, I think, still has this system today. It's not a bad thing really in plain turning lathe, and it's nice and easy to regulate, and it's bomb proof. But anyway, we've got oiler, so that's something we've done on this. It looks pretty good. I like that. Yeah, probably at least 2 or 3 times the rate. The type of wire does matter, apparently. Apparently galvanised wire is very, very slow and doesn't work. Xanadu Rob in South Australia, he did a video on it with a bit of experimentation and kind of sussed it out, but apparently galvanised wire doesn't work properly, which is interesting. So probably would be, Craig. That's a fairly smart lateral bit of thinking. I reckon it probably would be really good. You'd have to make one experiment. I think the hole size in the bottom probably makes a difference as well. This here is this is spring wire, and I think it might be plated. I'm not sure. It was just a cheap spring I had in an assortment and I straightened it out. The size of the hole in the bottom probably matters. But that's a really smart idea about the bandsaw. That sounds like a good idea. Because, yeah, we all need another project. But I think on a bandsaw, that'd probably be a really good thing. But there's no regulation to it. Once you've got the wire in there, that's the rate it ticks at or drips at. No problems. It could be, Tommy. That might be fair enough too. So there's parts for this coming from the States, right? Piston, cylinder head. I stuffed up the piston, which was unfortunate, but I drilled the conrod off center, or the gudgeon pin off center, so I'm not real happy about that, but that's what happened. And it's not enough to really even notice, but it's enough to, I think, be a problem with the engine. Hey Ted, good to see ya. So new piston's on its way, and the cylinder head, which I actually had a bit of a go at machining. See that shiny? Shouldn't be, it's cast iron, so that's hard. That's mostly chill. And we could probably try again to anneal it and get a bit of that out of it, but I don't think I'm really liking that for putting valves in, and there's some complicated ports there with very small end mills that I don't want to put into this material. So we've got a new one of these coming. I hope Clark has some sort of understanding that, I talked to him last night and I'm not sure he does have any understanding that probably international postage is going to get hit on the head pretty hard in the next little while. So I hope it leaves before that happens. Yeah, not under the skin of it. That's what you would think. But I'm more than halfway through this casting, so that's where we're at. There's obviously, could try a bit thinner, but it was sort of that thick. So if I'm not into the skin of it now, I'm not going to be. Yeah, so locked on will be about 4 months, but it won't hurt to stay away, JB. That's not a bad idea at all. See how you go. Hopefully this doesn't drag on another 4 months and I get my piston, at least the cylinder head, so that I can make some progress and make valves and put some ports in it. And probably I'm going to cast a manifold here in the home shop. I think it's not very big. The inlet manifold's kind of only this big. So it's not huge. We can make it out of solid, but I might try and cast that here in the home shop. I think it's just got one bolt through the middle to retain it. and it's got a ledge in one side for a ball bearing for the inlet, and basically an exhaust port out here for an exhaust pipe. So Dennis is working from home. That's really nice. That's awesome. I don't have that luxury, unfortunately. A lot of you probably do, but at this point, technicians and trades, I'm caught in the middle because I work in the middle of a fairly busy shopping centre, and I'm a little bit concerned that they are going to close us down, but I can't work from home. JB, don't stress too much. If we get these bits done, I'll just make it. If it doesn't happen, it's not a big deal. But there we go. That's the 400 update. This is all nice and oily because this oiler has been working. And hopefully I can get one of these. I have got another one here, and I might try to cool him off nice and slow and anneal him and see if I have any more luck with it. I really will. And I've got another piston as well that's probably all right, but we'll see how we go. I would like to see this going pretty quick. I'm sort of it's dragging on a bit. I apologise for that. But next job is probably, there's cams gears in here. Next job will be to make this 3D printed cam on here. In here to make a cam and to make the electrical cam and the trip and everything for this. And that's basically the back end of it finished. You're probably right, Warren. It won't hurt. It's running about 3-4 drops a minute at the moment, which is really good. I don't know about ships traffic. I'm waiting for an inserts because, as you know, the tragic and sad story is that they sent the wrong ones. What's probably going to happen, because I can't get the right ones and I'm down to the last one and it's a bit of a pain, I've ordered them and they're coming from China, but I couldn't get them locally, which is a bit of a problem. What I'm probably going to do is make a tool holder for these at some point, so check out that video when it happens. I'm not sure whether they're over the worst of it, Steve, but they're kind of saying they are, so I don't know. But just looking at statistics is still not real good over there. But they have got their logistics back up and running, so hopefully I get some inserts before very long. But yeah, it's probably easier to make a holder. What's wrong, Craig? Stefan makes that look really easy. I don't think there should be a problem. I don't know what you're talking about. It looks easy. Okay, literally joyous. Excellent. I imagine that the Chinese are going to get some logistics and manufacturing up and running, but they're going to make hand sanitizer and masks, because if I was Chinese and I had a factory at my disposal and opportunity to export, that's what I would make. But that's just me. Whether I was Chinese or not, if I had a factory and opportunity to export, that's what I'd be making. So I've got a few inserts here, so I might even try that. I do have a green wheel. We'll see what happens there. But realistically, I just want some inserts because I've got a lot of tools sitting around with no inserts in it. But yes, Steve has a point. Usually the ones I break or chip or the ends come off, they're not resharpenable. They're too far gone. I think Go Create. I think you're right. I think sharp inserts on small lathes are a pretty good idea. You don't have to have as much depth of cut to get finished for a start. I don't know what I'm talking about. Usual disclaimer. I have Dennis standing there ready to give us the information, but to my mind, smaller radiuses are better on low horsepower machines because they take a little bit less work to break chips and a little less horsepower to get a good surface finish. So it's probably, there's a lot to be said for sharpening cutters. Ted, can I get it into the mill with a fly cutter? Please clarify. I know we were talking about something. The greater the rake, the less cutting forces. Okay, I'll write this down and look at it later. Yeah, I can see what you mean. I find for carbide tooling that my lathe hasn't got enough horsepower. It's got a half horsepower motor on it. It's not really big enough, so I'm probably going to upgrade it to a 1 horsepower at some point. I left that option in there when I put it in there. And the motor that's on it's probably going to go on something else at some point. Oh wow, Dennis. Okay, that's fairly interesting. Not that I ever make anything aluminium. I tend to make stuff out of tool steel. I don't know why, but anyway, and hard cast iron. The length of the tail hanging down should affect drip rate. It probably does too, Dan. Interesting. Okay. Interesting, Dan. My mill now has a 1.5 horsepower, which is totally amazing, and I really wish I had a bit more horsepower on the lathe now. It would be really, really nice, but I don't, at this point it hasn't really happened. At some point I'll put a new motor on it. I've got space in there to do it. Even like a 1 horsepower would be nice. Future project, Dennis, there always is. It's all pretty interesting stuff. I really like that. I guess it's all secret squirrel business, but it's kind of fascinating, tool designing and cutting formulas and things. It's kind of, I'm guessing you don't just make one and put it in the machine and see what happens and then make another one. You actually have some formulas nowadays. Half horsepower on the lathe, Warren, which isn't big enough. It's struggling to cut anything with carbide bigger than about 2 inches diameter. That's where we're at with it. We machined this all right in cast iron. This is a nice cast iron flywheel. Machined that all right, but it was working at its limits. Might add more power than you have rigidity. That's probably correct, Craig. I've got to. I mean, the lathe's a lot better than I think than probably a Chinese one is. But 1 horsepower motor would be nice, and I just put it on. I've got little capability in the VFD just to wire it in. So all I've got to do is really change it over at some point when I buy one. It's yeah, I'm not sure the motor's stalling out. It's stalling out in the transmission somewhere, I think. Flat belt drive. It's not using all of what it's got, but it slows down fairly rapidly under a heavy cut. Put it that way. To a certain extent, belts are slipping, and you want belts slipping. You don't want belts toe tight that they don't slip. That's crazy on an old machine. Belt slip is a pretty good safety margin I really like about flat belt drive motors, flat belt drive machines. If you do get slip, well, you're not breaking something else. That's the way it is. Anyway, yeah, that's right. It's a VFD, and it needs to. Joseph's right. Belts need to slip a bit. I think so. More power is good if you're going to run under frequency too with a VFD. I'm not running it under frequency ever. I probably run it over frequency about 10% most of the time. 10-15% over, because I would like a bit more speed, and some back gears or some extra gearing would be really, really nice on it. And I've got plans for that too when I've got my gear carding attachment finished, which I have, and my threading attachment finished, which I've nearly got. I've got plans from about 1904 to make a 3-step pulley for the lathe with a planetary back gear in it. So that should be 3-speed planetary back gear in it. That should be a pretty fun project at some point when I run out of other things to make. So yeah, I've worked on machines that handle 400 thou or a half inch, no problems at all, and big lathes, and they're out there and it's good fun and all that sort of stuff. I'm not really looking to do that. I'm looking to make small precision parts, and that's what I'm gearing up to do. So all my gear is getting a little bit more precise and a little bit smaller, I think, if rather than bigger. And then I go and do projects like this that are way too big for my machines. But anyway, that's always going to happen. So just in case you're all forgotten, and I'll give you something to think about for another week, I'll put that at the front and hashtag Coathanger 2020. I would like some more horsepower on the lathe. The milling machine's fine for now. The milling machine's great. It's really, the system on the milling machine now is fantastic. I have a shaper here I'm not sure what I'm going to do with. Now, someone asked, yellow biplane, yeah. Someone asked about Princess Marina. 3.5 inch gauge locomotive. I put it over there back on the shelf. I had it out and I gave it a run for a while on the oil up and a good run on the weekend, Friday, Saturday night, Sunday, something like that. Because I was cleaning over that part of the workshop and I thought, well, I'll have it out here on the bench and we'll give it a run. It needs a bit of work, and most of all, it needs a boiler. Now, there's about $1,000 worth of copper in that boiler, I would imagine. And then there's probably a couple of hundred hours in making it, and there's probably $300 or $400 worth of gas in silver soldering it, and there's probably $150, $200 worth of silver solder in it, conservatively. And then there's testing. So I've got to go to the north side of Brisbane, which is 4 hours away, something like that. So if that's got to happen every 2 or 3 weekends, it cuts into my machine workshop time a bit, and I'm not sure how you get both things done. I guess it doesn't happen concurrently, it can happen over a period of time, but I made a video about it anyway, and I'm not sure what to do. What I would really like to do is swap it for a 2.5 inch gauge engine in a similar sort of extent, because there's only about quarter as much copper in a 2.5 inch gauge locomotive, and I can put a track in here nicely and it's easy to transport. So that's where I'm at. Go Create. I wonder what your boiler, silver, coal and gas was third the cost of my boiler. I reckon that's right, Go Create. It's, when you do the maths, there's a fair bit of work in a boiler, and copper, you start buying 3mm copper tube, 4 inches diameter and 18 inches long, you're going to scare you a bit what it's worth. I would really like, I don't know if it's worth a couple of grand, but it's worth a few dollars, I guess. But we have this thing that, I guess it's called the social trend. I don't know. You see, in the 40s and 50s, 2.5, 3.5 inch gauge locomotives were a thing, and people had them, and they were portable and they were fun. But then through the 90s and the last 20 years, locomotives for public running and for club tracks and things like that have got bigger and bigger and bigger, until you need a trailer and you need a truck to cart them around, and then you've got to have a shed or loading ramps and all that sort of stuff, and they cost a fortune. And that's kind of okay. But it's not what I'm sort of into at all, and I haven't got the equipment to make it, and I haven't got the space to store it, and I haven't got the transport equipment to move it around. And I haven't got the patience with actual real life people to go to and be members of clubs and things like that. So that's turning around, and I see a bit of a resurgence in 2.5-inch gauge and a bit of a resurgence in 3.5-inch gauge. Not to the point that anyone here is putting tracks in again, but there's certainly as much small stuff as there is 7.25-inch gauge and the big 5-inch gauge stuff like that now. So thanks, Dennis. It is, Warren, but they don't carry a lot of it and the sizes you need. And the problem is that it's all got to be documented and certified and crap as well. Commercial boiler builders are using TIG weld and GoCreate. That's correct, and they look nice too. David can't get his loco off the bench. That's what I'm worried about too. It's going to be probably 3 times the weight with the boiler in it. Warren says traction engine is to go. You're probably right. It's a bit of a nuisance to make a boiler. However, I know, guys, and probably there are other ways to do it eventually, but the weight of a 2.5-inch gauge boiler, like a Diac or something like that, which is a nice little loco, compared to a Princess Marina, which is scaled up half as big again, is about a quarter, I guess. So you have all these things, like you're not using anywhere near as much gas or as much silver solder, and you're not spending the money on copper, and you can cart it around and tent it up on end and look at it and pressure test it and stuff here. And you can pick it up and take it to a track somewhere and run it if you need to, or get it okayed or tested or anything like that. So that's what I'm thinking, is to go one size down. O gauge is too small. I've messed around with that and it is pretty tiny. Anyway, that's where I'm at with that. I don't know yet, and it won't hurt to sit here for another 12 months. Someone did tentatively offer me a Diac chassis in exchange for the one I've got, but I haven't heard from him since, so we'll see what happens there. That was local. Anyway, might be better to go electric. Yeah, probably, but no, I'm not that keen actually. I would rather build stationary engines, and there's probably 20 different stationary engines we could build and make videos of in the next 20 years without any problems at all, and some pretty cool stuff about this size and a little bit smaller. There's some really awesome designs. I was looking at Manchester's single column steam hammer style engine the other day, and that's pretty nice modern engine that stands about 250, 300 high. I've got plans and I've got a set of patterns for Bolton's number 7 engine, which is 7-inch flywheel engine, about this size too in the steam engine. So there are options if I wanted to build a steam engine next, but probably David says it's a 7/4 black 5. Okay. Yeah, it's I probably wouldn't have even made put it together on the bench. That sounds like a bit of a challenge. Boilers are a problem, and in Australia anyway, everything's got to be new and documented, and that's where I want to be safe with it. So that's the way it's got to be. We could make a steel boiler. You haven't got the thermal efficiency. Steel boilers are fairly common. Stainless steel, not so much because of expansion cracking and stuff like that, I think. But TIG welding has probably changed that a little bit too. But by the time you buy a Schedule 40 or whatever pipe, and get it all code welded, etc., 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 you're not any further in front, really. Matty, of course, wants a copy of Harold Hall's boring headed plans. That's important for him. Mark, there was a really nice little Bagnall tank engine in Model Engineer that they're making in 2-foot gauge in England in some numbers. I'm not sure how many of them they've made, but if you have a look recently, there's a fairly nice little, like a saddle tank, like a Hunslet or a Bagnall or something like that they're making in full size. If you're going to go to that extent, that's where you'd want to be with it. Yeah, Harold Hall's got some good stuff. There's heaps of good stuff on there. Go check it out. Anyway, I think we've done this subject to death, really. I'll check the email in a minute, Kevin, and see what I got from you. Now, there's one last thing that I'd like to cover, right, while we're all standing here. Makers Meet, Australian Makers Meetup 2020 was going to be October, right? And I'm sure you all thought about it a couple of times since I mentioned it the first time. And I'd hoped I had hoped that everything was going to go swimmingly into plan and we'd have something pretty cool when it happened in Melbourne in first week in October, something like that. However, we've got this thing called coronavirus, and I'm not sure where we're going to be by the end of next month, and I'm not sure how much better we're going to be. Realistically speaking, I don't know how much better we're going to be by the end of September. So, in light of everyone having a couple of weeks off work and not having any annual leave left, and no money left, and no food left, and having to buy new clothes because they've all lost 5 stone because they've starved to death, and ended up in hospital for a bit, and discovered that it actually is the smart dust and spent all their money on expensive 3M tin foil for hats, etc., 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 because this is all stuff that's going to happen. Hey, David. I'm going to put off any announcement for another month or 6 weeks. So there we go. JB's the only one that's going to come out in front because he was going to New Zealand and then that got cancelled. So that's where I'm at with it. I will do a tinfoil hat video, probably. Sounds like a plan. Someone got in touch with me last year. 5G towers, the cause of it. Yeah, well, it's smart dust, you see. That's what it is. What was I saying? Yeah. This hashtag thing. There's some cool hashtags floating around. This Coathanger 2020 thing's pretty cool. It's kind of awesome. It's not the chemtrails. They've been around for years. It would have instigated itself before this. is people getting too close to the truth in the end, going on all these excursions to the ice wall, and probably they're going to discover the Earth's flat. That's probably what it is, and NASA have decided that they're going to cut that out and weed out the smart part of the population who thinks that that's an actual thing. There's 1,000 theories. But hashtags. Poppy had a really good idea right at the beginning of the video. Put up your hashtag again, Poppy, if you're still watching. You're probably gone to sleep. It's late over there. Thanks, Joseph. Hashtag for Stay at Home 2020, I think it was. I think so. That might be a fun one to use and get people to watch your videos. There's also probably we should do something for April Fools. We've all got time probably to do something. So if anyone's got any thoughts about April Fool's videos or wants to do a collab or something like that, get in touch. Or if you've got an idea, I've got 2 or 3 good ideas for April Fools. Really good ideas, and I probably will make a video. Stay Home 2020. Yep. If anyone's got any ideas who would like to be in touch, send me an email about that and we could probably do something cool. So Gary's mother's birthday was April the 1st. Ted, I wouldn't be surprised at all, but you're a gun owner, so we sort of discount that information. I was messing with you, Ted, sorry. Yeah, if someone wants to get something together and do something with April Fools, when I've finished with this Coathanger 2020 thing, which is not too far away, I might do something with that as well. So there we go. Anyway, I'm going to call this. I think we've had enough. I've had enough. I haven't had dinner yet, really. And it's getting late. There's no food in the shop, so I'm probably going to make something here. And I've got laundry in because I need clothes for tomorrow. And probably it's work tomorrow. So good to see you all. Take care. Don't take too much too seriously, or yourself. Don't give yourself a hernia worrying about what may or may not happen. Just keep yourself safe and those that are close to you. And if it gets in touch, it gets tough, talk to someone. You know, that's what's important. Talk to someone. So that's where I'm at now. Take care. I'm out. Be kind to each other, and especially to the people buying toilet rolls and selling them on Amazon. We'll see ya. I'm out.